Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we're going to do a refresh on an old video of mine, how to build a deck on MTG Arena. This is really intended for newer folks or just kind of individuals who want to kind of get a couple clues, best help things when it comes to building decks on Magic the Gathering Arena. We did one of these a while back, but the kind of visual views changed on some of this stuff, so I wanted to do a more recent version. So really what we're going to do with this is look at how to put together a deck, how to kind of have your mana, how to search for cards, how to import deck lists, and then kind of go from there. I'll also do a separate video on the various play modes, how to do an event versus the ladder, how to make, like what the ranks mean, like what does it mean to be mythic rank, what does it mean to qualify for a play-in or something like that. So we'll do that as a separate video. If you need ideas for deck lists as well, each week I do a meta breakdown where I highlight the most popular, best performing decks in each format, so you can also take a look there. But jumping into this, we're just going to go to decks to start off with. You'll see I have a number of decks already available. You can favorite decks that you like by selecting a deck and then hitting the little heart that's over here. Favorited deck will just remain at the top. You can click into decks and you'll see your deck here. You can go through, you can switch the view of a deck in this top right corner. Allow you to kind of see which modes there. But we are going to start by crafting a deck from scratch and a couple tricks. So you do the plus sign here. I like to usually do this to kind of see. You can also play around and do this view, whatever you prefer. So we are going to select a format. That's the first step. So there's basically two bases to formats. There's what's referred to as best of one or BO1 or best of three traditional. So think of it as with a sideboard, without a sideboard. Best of one matches are singular matches that you play, and you know, win or lose, that's the end of the game. Traditional or best of three allows you to go to sideboard games. So it's basically best 2 to 3 wins that match of Magic. Those games typically will allow you to have a sideboard where after the first game, you're allowed to bring in cards from your sideboard, take out cards, and kind of reconfigure your deck based on the various matchups. So in this case here, we're going to start off, we'll just choose traditional standard because I can show you a couple different things with this. So if we choose traditional standard, what it'll do is it'll curate the cards in the format above that are legal. Now, depending on how new you are to the game, you might not own all the cards. So what you can do is in this filter here, if you do not collected, it will bring up all the cards that are available. So the cards that are owned and the cards that aren't owned. So you'll see at the top here, there's 4 pips, 4 pips, 4 pips. That means I own 4 copies. If you look at this card right here, you'll notice I have 3 of the 4 pips. So that means I'm missing one of these. If I need to play 4 of these, I will have to craft a card. So when it comes to crafting cards, we can look at that. I just want to find maybe an uncommon. So let me see, I'm going to check. So I want to just see commons and uncommons that I haven't collected. So we can do this. So I don't own these cards here. So we can see various cards that I don't own copies of. So let's just choose this card here. So say I want to craft this card. So if you add it to your thing, to your deck, you'll see it here. It's grayed out. So you'll notice this card here, I'm missing 2 copies. In the bottom right hand corner, you can click craft. So it'll pull up, I need 2 common wildcards here. So what does that mean? So if you kind of hover here, you'll see how many wildcards you have. Wildcards are accumulated through opening packs. And then you get some number. You'll also have a vault, so once you open up a certain amount of packs, you get awarded either rare or mythic wildcards, and then your common and uncommons are higher drops. So if I do want to craft these, I can just click craft, 2 commons, finish deck, and then we're good. Now they're in here. So we're just going to reset. You'll also notice when we do that, it adds the basic lines that we have. So if we just reset the filters now, you can also just click reset here. You can do the same thing. So with the recommended lines, it's the suggest line features. So it'll look to say you should have this many lines. So as a starting point, we want to keep a deck around or at 60 cards. Don't play more than 60 cards unless you're playing with a specific companion named Yorion that allow you to play 80. Now the reason for this is you want to maximize the chances of drawing your best cards, and then that having more cards dilutes your general strategy. Generally speaking, in a 60 card deck, you'll have 24 lands. That number can skew a bit if you're a more aggressively slanted deck with a lower curve, or like your cards cost less, you can kind of trim on lands. If you are a control deck or a deck with bigger spells, in terms of casting cost, you might want more lands. So that's generally the word of thumb. 24 is usually where you stay in most cases. So let's say we want to build let's say in this case, I don't know, let's pick a tribe. Let's do humans. So we want to build humans. So what we can do, just human, not humans. So if we click human, it'll pull up everything that has the phrase human in it. So it can be in the type. So you'll see under creature, it'll say creature, human, wizard. You can type like wizard for that. It'll also pull up anything that has human on like the backside, something of like a saga. If there's any spells that specifically care about humans, it'll also pull that up. So something like Sunset Revelry, you'll see here, it creates 2 1/1 human tokens. So it'll pull up everything with humans. So we could say like we want to build a 2-color human deck. So let's click the multicolor and it'll pull up all the ones that are multicolor. So we can see, okay, what colors do we want to build in a multicolor human deck? So let's start off, let's say I want to build black-white humans. When you hover over the cards, you can see if there's any additional effects. This particular one cares about dungeons, so you can kind of see what the dungeons are. That's a kind of ability. You can right-click, you can see like the arts on it. So if we pull this in, so say I want 4 of these, I want 4 of these, I want 2 of these. I'm just kind of throwing cards in here, 2 of these. And then say now we want to see the white ones, we can do some of these. I'm just going to fill 60 cards in just for the sake. And I'm going to just do varied kind of casting costs, various colors. Let's do some of these. You know what, we want some removal as well. So let's say destroy as kind of a keyword. Okay, so we have destroy. So what do we want with that? Maybe something like Fateful Absence, destroy target creature. So let's add some of these in here. In black, we have like these. I just want to, okay, so let's just say we build this. This is our deck. It's not a coherent deck in any manner, but it's the deck that we have. So now what we want to do is start adding lands to it. So by basis, you'll see it's auto-populated our lands. So 13 plains, 11 swamps. If you click here, it'll pull it up and you'll see a mana distribution. So 83% of our spells require some amount of white mana. We have 30 pips of white, 18 of black, 12 multicolor. Our breakdown is 22 creatures, 14 non-creatures. If we look at our curve, our average converted mana cost is 2. So 24 lands might be a little high, maybe 23, but there's also ways to offset it in the current standard with what are called utility lands. So we'll take a look at that in a sec. We can see what our breakdown is. So while everyone is human in the deck, there's also sub-themes, cleric, stuff like that. Breakdown of instants, sorcery, enchantments, and lands. So what we can do is, if we look here, you click the multicolor, for example, or you can just click lands. So lands will just give you a different style if you just want to pick in like the land of your choice. I like these better, so we'll pick these. And in terms of swamps, you can just do this. I like these swamps better. You can take out lands however you might want, and so you can just kind of readjust like that. So what we'll do is, let's just take out these basics for now and then add in other lands, and we'll kind of go from there. So what you can do is with the lands, if you get rid of this and you just click multicolor, now we can see all the dual lands that are available. So in this deck here, we're a 2-color deck, and in this deck we're a little bit more aggressive. You saw our curve, we're 2 converted mana costs, so we're going to want as many lands that come into play untapped. So in this case, we'll add some pathways, we'll add these lands, they come into play untapped. We might want a snarl or 2, let's say like that. We can also look at what I was saying, utility lands. So in white, we have Cave of the Frost Dragon, it's a creature land. So this is a land, but it's also a creature at times, so we can add some copies of that. In standard right now, there's also these like channel lands. So these are legendary lands, so you don't want to add more than 1 copy of each typically. So we can add that. Same idea, we can come to black now, the creature land, the utility land. You might also want to look in your deck to see, if you go colorless and choose lands, there's sometimes effects that you might want there. So something like Field of Ruin to destroy lands. You can do these like fetch lands. You can do another creature land. So there's a bunch of utility style lands here. So in this case here, say we're content with this mana base for now. We can click back to lands, click suggest lands, and now it'll populate the remaining lands after we changed. So that's our distribution of lands. So you can see how we're kind of split based on our colors. It suggests 5 plains, 3 swamps. What you can also do is, in the current standard, there's what's called Modular Dual Face Cards, MDFC. So for example, you filter and say we do everything converted mana cost other than 0. So like lands themselves are always considered 0 CMC. If you filter like that, you can see all these spell lands. They're lands on one side, they're creatures or like effects on another. You can add these into your deck. And this is a way to kind of offset flooding by adding in some of these cards. So say we want some Amiria's Calls. This will take us to 62, but now we can shave off 2 lands like that. So this is one way to kind of do it like that. Similarly, if we could reset our filter here, going back to the thing, like our initial search, if we only want, say, creatures that are humans in 1, 2, or 3 converted mana cost, we can search like that. And now it pulls up everything like that. So there's different ways you could kind of query. You can do counters if you want something that puts counters on things. If there's a specific mechanic, flashback, say, is a mechanic, we can see what comes up like that. So there's different ways you could kind of search and curate your stuff. So then we can go to the sideboard component. So I usually like showing the sideboard as such. So we're just going to add a bunch of different cards again, just to show like this what's in here. Again, not a coherent sideboard, but say this is the sideboard. Now, if you want to use this deck in both best of 1 and best of 3, the first component, this top 7 cards, are available to you in a best of 1 format. Now you might ask, why do you need a sideboard in best of 1? Well, there's effects, for example, like lessons. Let me just reset. So learn and lesson is a mechanic right now. So with learn, it means you could go into your sideboard and take a lesson card. So a lesson card would be something like reduced to memory. So these you can fetch in best of 1. So you want to put those cards, if you're not set up it by default in best of 1, you want to put these in your best of 1 section. You do so by just clicking, just clicking and kind of moving like that. And then so we can do this, say we want necrotic fumes up here, we can just put it like that. So that's the deck. If you want to add some style, you'll notice, so some of my cards are just regular frames, some are full art. If you want to add some style, you can click card styles for your specific things, and then you can see, okay, this card here, if I want this, it's 5,000 golds to get the full art with it. Don't recommend for newer players to spend their hard-earned arena currency on cosmetics, but if you feel inclined, that's one way to do so. So this is basically how we build a deck. You can also rename your deck. So you can do something like test humans. You can also, if you want to change your box art, you click and drag. Now add a lines here. If you want to go here, you can choose your sleeves. So say for this one, I want Jace sleeves. So we'll confirm that. You can change your avatar, you can change your pet for this deck and get everything set up beautifully for it. So that's kind of the end step of building our deck. So we do this, and then you can always access and change it and stuff like that. Test humans is right here. There's another way to kind of go about doing this, and that's called importing decks. So we have this deck, for example, say we want to share the list with a friend. You can just hover here, you can click export, and that'll pull it up as just like a string, a text. If you want to paste it in a deck site or share it with friends, that's one way to do it. Now we're also going to import a deck. So what we're going to do is switch over. There's a couple different places. These are the ones I usually get deck lists from. So we have something like Untapped GG. So we can copy to MTGA here, copies it in. We can also go, so for example, say this is my Angels deck, and we're on aetherhub.com. This is the deck I got number 16 Mythic with, so I was 16th ranked on all of Arena with this particular deck. So we can go export. So we see all the list of cards here. This is for a different format. It's called Explorer, but same idea for standard, anything else. This is for best of one. So we can click export here, and then we want to do MTG Arena format. So when you click export in Arena, it does it in this format here. It's just like a string of text, almost like a text file. So you can just select everything, go copy to clipboard, and then if we pop back into Arena, we go over here, we just click import, and now it'll show us imported deck 4. So then you can click into it, you can change your lands, you can apply your styles that you have, you can add things, remove things, whatever you might want to do, and then kind of go from here. You'll have your sideboard, everything like that. We'll see this is for showing as historic, but this should be Explorer, just kind of going from there. And then you could kind of save whatever you want there. So then we could just click done, and then we can go from there. If you want to delete the deck, you just click garbage and throw it in the trash. Another easy way to do that. And that's pretty much it. So when you want to go to actually play the games, then you just select the deck that you want. So we say go play, standard play, test humans would be right here. If you just want to kind of explore cards itself, there's a couple ways to do it. You can either do it from the deck play, the same search capabilities. You can also do it from the collections menu to see what cards you own, what cards you're missing. So this collection side, what you can do is you can select not selected. You can choose any type of, so standard are like the newer sets. Alchemy is kind of an expansion. It's a digital only, like digital mechanics. Like, so not real Magic cards in the terms of like paper cards are also introduced into the format, and it uses the same standard pool. There's Historic and Explorer as well, which is just like a more expansive set of cards. So if you want to see from say like a set, so say like Streets of New Capenna, we want to see what we don't have, we want to see what rares might exist. We can take a look, we could just kind of explore and be like, oh, I'm missing 4 of these cards, or 4 of these. There's some cards that we might be interested in playing. You can kind of take a look there. You can kind of explore like that. You can do it in terms of all formats. So you can kind of play around, see what's cool, what effects you want to do. Just keep in mind that when you are building stuff, like you don't want to craft historic cards if you're only interested in playing standard. You can play them in something like Historic Brawl, but you can't play them in standard necessary. Maybe just a quick kind of check I can show you really quick as well. So all these have been constructed formats, 60 card formats. There is another format similar to Commander or EDH called Brawl. So most people play Historic Brawl, which is just a bigger card pool. So when you do this, it gives you access to all the legendary creatures. Same idea. If you don't have a big collection right now, you can also select not collected to give you the commanders you might be missing. So when you pick the one that you want, so say I want this is my commander, you just drag it over here, and now it'll pull all the cards that are legal to play in this card based on its color combination. In this format, you add 100 cards. You typically want to add about 36 to 40 lands, depending on if you have mana acceleration, stuff like that. But I do have a video on like some kind of ideas for how to build Historic Brawl as well, if you wanted to check that on the channel. But this is just a way to build these types of decks as well. So that's pretty much it. Just a kind of high level how to build decks. Like I said, each week I go through and I look at the top performing decks. So I suggest a bunch of decks if you're interested in playing. If you're not a good deck builder, you just want to import something, or something catches your eye, it's fun to play, you can always do that there. And I get all that information from this site called Untapped.gg, which is what I had on the screen. So it is this site here. So this is a companion tool, so it runs alongside your Arena client, tracks your win rates, loss rates. It could sync your deck collection and give you recommendations of what you can build. So like, for example, I own 96% of all the standard legal cards. These are all my wild cards. I can build stuff. Like I said, it tracks your win rates, loss rates. In my case, like the highest rank I had was 16 Mythic. It's also got like draft functionality, so it's free to use a lot of this functionality. If you want to get started with this, I'll put the link in the video description down below. But I'll just show you an example. So I own all these. So for this deck here, for example, if I want to build this deck, what's cool with Untapped, I'm missing one copy of this card, Ogre Head Helm, so you can see what you're missing before committing to decks. So it's another cool way to kind of get acquainted with the format and build cool decks and just see what others are playing, give you some ideas, and you could search by like particular cards and find decks that way. It's a very useful tool. So if you're interested in that, the link is in the video description down below. In any case, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great one. Stay safe out there. And if you like this type of content, definitely subscribe to the channel. We'll do these instructional videos, gameplay, and meta videos throughout the week. Thanks for watching. Have a great one.